Welcome back to Martial Musings. Are you a good partner? Really, are you? If your answer to that was immediately yes, you're probably not, and I'm going to explain why in Controversy Corner. Welcome back to Martial Musings, and this is a little segment I like to call Controversy Corner. In the Controversy Corner, we discuss a topic that is maybe a little controversial. I give you my thoughts, and hopefully you go and you think about it. Fudo Shin trains mind, body, and spirit, so it's great to train your body and your spirit, but you have to also train your mind. You have to challenge yourself. You have to challenge your thinking. And that's what this is designed to do. Challenge your thinking. So my question was, are you a good training partner? And if your immediate answer was yes, my point of view was, you're wrong. How would I get that point of view if I've never met you, or if I don't know how your training works? Well, it works like this. I've been a school teacher for 30-something years. I've had many, many conversations in the dojo and to parents. I've met a lot of parents. And when I have conversations with them, the topic of being a good parent comes up. And from time to time, parents, usually younger ones, worry that they're not a good parent. My response to them 99.9% of the time is, you probably are. If you worry about being a good parent, you probably are. It's the parents who assume they're doing a great job or just don't give a damn that are not good parents. I apply that to partners. If you just assume you're a good partner, if you never look at whether you are a good partner, if that idea never crosses your mind, or if you're asked that question and you don't take a moment of pause to think about it, you're probably not a good partner. So, if you think of yourself and not of others when you train, you're not a good partner. And there are lots of ways to be a bad partner. It's not as easy to be a good partner as you might think. And I can tell you from my experience, I've had some good partners and I've had some sensational partners. And the difference in your training and what you're able to achieve, not because they're going with you and they're giving you all the results that you want, but because they are relaxed, they are flexible, they are happy for you and trusting, and then you become a good partner for them. So what are some of the issues we have with bad partners? Well, I call them Mr. this person and Mr. that person, because let's be honest, most of the people who are training are Mr., not Mrs. or Ms. or Miss. But please, when I say Mr., ladies, you're just as guilty as this as anybody else. So Mr. Resistance is one. Mr. Resistance is that person who doesn't want the technique to work. For whatever reason, they don't want the technique to work. They might not even know that they don't want your technique to work. I have a classic example of this. Many years ago, a blue belt came to my dojo. Now, blue belt in our system is assistant instructor level, okay, or junior instructor level. They're starting to get up there. It would be equivalent, being very cautious to say this, but it would be equivalent in time and energy spent in the dojo for first level black belt in many associations, because you're looking around, on average, around that 5 to 6 year mark. So in time and effort, it's around that black belt for a lot of people. So this gentleman arrives at my dojo from interstate with Soke Tony Ball. Obviously, he's there to represent the association. He's there representing Soke as well. He should be at his best behaviour. I observe him training with white belts, mauve belts, beginners. And we're doing our mauve belt syllabus, our basic syllabus with a cross strike defence. And I look at him and he's changed the attack. And it made me look instantly. Why has this attack changed? So instead of a cross strike, he's doing a back fist, which changes the dynamics of the arm. Instead of just stepping forward in a normal attack position, he's stepping forward and dropping into an L stance, which I thought was strange because you don't want to turn your body away from the person you're striking. But that's what he was doing. So that got me to look a little closer. And what he was doing a back fist, locking his arm, standing into an L stance and dropping his weight back and down. Now this guy was heavy. He was muscular and overweight. He was a heavy guy, low center of gravity. And he should have known better. He was making life very difficult for these people who then had to get around him, and when trying to pull him down from the rear, found it very difficult. Why did they find it difficult? Because he had purposely changed his stance to make it structurally strong in the direction they had to pull him. You might ask, why would someone do that? Well, we'll get to that at the end. But that's one example. Another example is Mr. No Pain. Mr. No Pain goes, that hurts. As soon as you get any sort of lock or grip or anything on him, taps out. Well, don't assist, don't resist is our motto. So if I assist you to get in your techniques, if I tap out super early, you're never, ever, ever going to get to know what sort of pressure you need to get a submission. So the opposite of Mr. Resistance is Mr. No Pain. We don't want people to instantly tap out as soon as their arm is touched or their throat is touched, giving that person a false sense of their abilities. Then you've got Mr. I don't know when to stop. So you give, this often happens on the ground, you give people a technique to practice. They practice it many, many times. Backwards and forwards, new partners, backwards and forwards. Then you say, okay, apply a little resistance just to make their life difficult, so they've really got to get it right. Backwards and forwards. The next step after that is usually, okay, make them earn it. So they have to really get that lock on, because now they have to get the speed to get into position. Great. But somewhere in there where we say add a little bit of resistance, some people start to add, no, you're not going to get it. Now, this happens on both sides of the fence. The person doing the technique will sometimes give up on that technique and try something completely different. Person on the ground or receiving the technique, the uke will sometimes go, no, you're not having that technique. And then when the person tries again, they'll try something else. So in reality, they're not giving some resistance, they're actually countering the technique. Now we've got counter versus counter versus counter, and guess what? We're now grappling. And you turn around and here are two people basically grappling on the mat. That is not on. Not only is it dangerous and set a really bad example for everybody else, but you've given up on the technique that you're supposed to be trying to perfect. And because you didn't get it, you gave up and moved on. That's bad. Or you stopped your partner from getting something, and you've gone beyond their ability to do it, they're not learning anymore. You're just getting your ego stroked. These things are both bad. Then we have Mr. Passive Resistance. Mr. Passive Resistance says, oh, I'm not resisting, I didn't make their life hard, but at the same time, they are resisting by being over complicit, overly relaxed. Okay, we see this a lot in techniques where there's a throw, or techniques where there's a strike that softens the person up before you throw them. They forget that we've just simulated breaking 3 of your ribs. So yes, you're happy to stand upright and you're happy to lock into your stance and be nice and strong. We see this through all grades. We see people in judo who, when the people are going to throw them, instead of just being a normal, semi-rigid human being, they go all floppy. How is that resisting? Well, you may as well be working out with one of these grappling dummies, because the human body has a certain level of rigidity. That's what enables you to throw people. When I go to hook a leg and I lift it, the body reacts in a certain way and loses balance because of that rigidity. If I turn into a floppy sack and everything can be lifted by itself and nothing else moves, that's a form of resistance. Why does this happen? Why do people do this? The answer is ego. Here's a little thing that I call blue belt-itis. Some people in my club know about this. Blue belt-itis. I call it blue belt-itis because around about that level, people start to do interesting things. They're like teenagers. Now, sorry if there's any teenagers out there that are really, really sensible and level-headed all the time. To the other 99.9% of you, it's like teenagers. When you first start your martial arts journey, you're an infant, you're a child. You don't know anything, and you know you don't know anything. And you're happy to be told what to do and follow it religiously. Somewhere along your journey, and we've all done it. We've all done it. I've never seen anyone not do this. Somewhere along in our journey, somewhere you will suddenly start to think you know something. And you do, but you think you know a lot more than you really do. So what happens is they start to think that they know something more than they really do. Ego is not a bad thing. Ego drives you to achieve. Ego, if you don't have some ego, you don't have hope. You don't want to strive. You don't want to push yourself. You're not motivated without some level of ego. So I don't believe ego is a bad thing. Inflated ego is a bad thing. So you start off, you don't know anything, and you know you don't know anything. Then you start to feel like you know a fair bit, and people are starting to, and you're wearing Hakama, or you've got your black belt, or whatever it happens to be, and you're feeling a bit special. And you want to protect that feeling of being special, and you feel you have the right now to let people know when things are going wrong. And that's true. You should help them fix it. You shouldn't be a hindrance. You certainly shouldn't be a person who doesn't get taken down, or a person who doesn't get thrown, or a person who doesn't let the person have what they need to succeed just because you want to stroke your own ego. It's important that you help them fix it and that you make it so they can achieve. Don't forget, if you received a strike to the groin, that's had an effect on you. If they've simulated a strike to the throat, that's had an effect on you. You don't have to overplay it, but don't stand there like an unbreakable mountain pretending that didn't hurt when in reality you've got a semi-crushed larynx. What happens next is, after an amount of time, you start to realize that you know very little. You knew nothing. You then felt like you knew a lot. Just like a teenager who thinks they know everything. You think you know a lot. And then after more training and more time, you come to a realization that you know very little, and that that's okay. That you are fallible, and that's okay. That regardless of what grade you are, you can fight that person over there, and that person can take you out. And that's okay, because we learn from these experiences. That's my take on being a good partner. You can comment down below. As always, be respectful, because without respect, there is no martial arts. Let me know what you think about Controversy Corner. If you have a topic you'd like me to handle, I'm more than happy to talk about just about anything, clearly. Okay, stay safe and enjoy. Let's